In March 1872, the probate court in West Feliciana Parish, Louisiana, removed a man from his position. His name was Elias Morton. He had managed the records of Greenwood Plantation for more than a decade. The court minutes were brief. Morton was dismissed as estate manager during the probate review of the property once owned by Daniel R. Barrow. The reason was written in one sentence: the plantation accounts could not be trusted. Those accounts were ledgers, cotton tallies, debt columns, labor rolls. Each line recorded the value of enslaved people as plantation assets. During the review, one name kept appearing: Samuel Carter. He appeared in the field labor lists through early 1863. Then his entry changed. Next to his name was a short note: removed from field rolls. No sale amount, no transfer record, no death notation. Yet the plantation debt calculations still included his value. The numbers did not match the entry. A worker recorded as gone was still being counted in the estate's losses. Clerks reviewing the books noticed the contradiction first. Then the probate attorneys noticed it. Finally, the court asked for the original ledger pages. Morton had written most of them. His handwriting appeared beside the labor columns and cotton tallies, and beside the line where Samuel Carter disappeared. When questioned, Morton explained that Samuel had been sold. The sale, he said, occurred during the disruptions of the Civil War. But no bill of sale could be found. No parish record existed. The books recorded the loss of a man, but no document recorded where that man had gone. Then another record appeared. It had not been part of the plantation accounts. It came from inside the Barrow household. Greenwood Plantation stood along the Mississippi River in West Feliciana Parish. By 1860, it produced several hundred bales of cotton each year. The owner, Daniel R. Barrow, relied on written records to manage the estate. Plantation bookkeeping was precise. Laborers were listed by name. Their work was measured against cotton weights and acreage. The system treated labor as measurable property. Every worker appeared in the ledgers. Field assignments were recorded beside daily cotton tallies. Absences were noted. Illness was sometimes written in the margins. The man responsible for maintaining those books was Elias Morton. Morton served as plantation overseer and account keeper. His handwriting filled the labor rolls between 1859 and 1864. He kept several books at once: a field ledger for daily work, a cotton book tracking harvest totals, and a financial ledger summarizing the plantation's yearly value. Among the names repeated across those pages was Samuel Carter. Samuel worked in the cotton fields. His labor was counted season after season in the field gang lists. Ledger marks beside his name showed assigned acreage and picking totals. These marks were small, but they mattered to the plantation accounts. Each line contributed to the estate's calculation of profit and debt. The system also required documentation when something changed. If a worker died, the death was recorded. If a worker was sold, the buyer and price appeared in the ledger. Plantation records were often copied into parish courthouse books. Clerks recorded slave transfers because taxes depended on them. Missing documentation could create disputes later. During the early years of the Civil War, plantation life became less predictable. Transport slowed, markets shifted, but the ledgers continued. Morton continued writing entries in the same careful hand. Through early 1863, Samuel Carter's name appeared normally in the work rolls. Then the entry changed. One line replaced the usual field notation, removed from field rolls. Nothing followed it. No sale record, no burial entry, no explanation written in the margin. At the time, no one questioned the line. Clerks recorded what they were told. Plantation records often relied on the overseer's word. 9 years later, during the probate review, that single line would draw attention because the numbers around it did not match the statement it made. When the probate court examined the plantation accounts in 1872, several books were reviewed together. The cotton ledger, the plantation debt ledger, and the field labor rolls. Samuel Carter's name appeared across all three. Up to May 1863, his labor totals were counted normally. Then the notation appeared, removed from field rolls. After that date, Samuel's name vanished from the daily field lists, but the financial summaries told a different story. Morton had written a labor loss calculation that still included Samuel's value. That created a contradiction inside the books themselves. A worker removed from the plantation should no longer appear in labor value totals. Yet Samuel's value continued to appear in the estate's loss calculations. The numbers were small within the plantation account, but probate clerks reviewed each column line by line. Estate settlements required accurate bookkeeping. Morton explained the discrepancy during questioning. He stated that Samuel had been sold privately during the war. The sale, he said, helped settle plantation debts. But the explanation required documentation. Plantation sales normally produced bills of sale or courthouse records. Attorneys searched the parish transfer books. They found no sale listing for Samuel Carter. The search expanded into neighboring parishes. Slave sales often crossed county lines. Again, no entry appeared. The ledger pages were examined again. Morton's handwriting appeared throughout the book, but the removal note beside Samuel's name looked different from the lines around it. The spacing was tight. The ink tone was slightly darker. The line appeared squeezed between earlier entries. That detail suggested the note may have been written later, after the original page had already been completed. It did not prove the entry was false, but it weakened the explanation Morton had given the court. By itself, the ledger raised questions but did not answer them. Plantation records during the war were sometimes incomplete. Accounts could be reconstructed years later. The probate inquiry might have ended with uncertainty, but another document existed. It was not part of the plantation accounting system. It had been written privately inside the Barrow household, and it described the night Samuel Carter left Greenwood Plantation. During the probate hearings, papers from the Barrow household were introduced as supporting documents. Among them was a personal diary kept during the Civil War. The diary belonged to Caroline Barrow. Its entries recorded routine plantation life: weather, visitors, short household notes. One entry was dated May 21, 1863. The note was short, but it mentioned a name already present in the plantation ledgers: Samuel. The entry described him leaving the plantation after dark. He departed quietly and traveled north. No mention of a sale appeared in the entry. Caroline Barrow also wrote that the overseer believed Samuel had been sold. The diary suggests she allowed that explanation to remain. No correction appears in later entries. For probate investigators, the diary clarified the ledger contradiction. Samuel had not been sold. He had left the plantation. Morton had written the removal line in the ledger. Later, he told the court Samuel had been sold to cover debt, but the diary recorded the event differently. The ledger entry concealed the loss of a worker who had escaped. It also allowed Samuel's value to remain in plantation debt calculations. That practice inflated the estate's financial losses. Estate accounts depended on accurate bookkeeping. When entries conflicted with documentary evidence, courts corrected them. The diary provided that evidence. By the end of the hearing, the probate court had two records describing the same event: one ledger written by Elias Morton, one diary written inside the plantation house. Only one of those records explained where Samuel Carter had gone, and once the court accepted that explanation, the plantation books could no longer remain unchanged. Later, in 1872, the probate court issued its ruling. Elias Morton was removed as estate manager for Greenwood Plantation. Court minutes state that the plantation ledgers contained unreliable entries. The ruling specifically referenced inconsistencies in the labor and debt records. Morton's bookkeeping was no longer accepted as accurate. The estate accounts were revised. Labor losses previously recorded in Morton's books were recalculated. Several figures tied to missing workers were removed from the debt summaries. After that year, Morton's name no longer appeared in Greenwood Plantation account books. A new manager recorded the remaining estate transactions. The investigation also clarified the record of Samuel Carter. In 1866, the Freedmen's Bureau Labor Register in Baton Rouge listed him by name. Samuel Carter signed a wage labor contract for farm work that year. The register recorded his prior residence in West Feliciana Parish. The name, location, and age corresponded with the plantation ledger entries. The record identifies him as the same Samuel Carter who had worked at Greenwood Plantation. Barrow estate entered probate in 1872. Samuel Carter was no longer counted in plantation property records. He appeared instead in federal labor documentation as a paid worker. Elias Morton's name was removed from the Greenwood estate accounts in 1872. Samuel Carter's name remained in the Freedmen's Bureau Register of 1866.